Related to the New York Knicks. Training camp opens tomorrow. Media day, or content creation day. Was today, um, October 4th, the first preseason game, and October 21st, the first home game against Detroit. October 19th, the actual first game against Memphis. I am super psyched. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification button so you'll be notified anytime anything goes live on this channel. The season is about to start, so you know Sim is going to have the pregame before every game, the post-game after every game, the morning shoot around, coach's corner, some other things, and then of course Queen's Court, the controversy, Knicks and bruises with the crossover. We still here. I know it's been a few weeks, and the NBA report with Ron and John from still Knicks fans. Today we're talking about the Knicks. RJ Barrett at Media Day said they're going to shock the world. So are the Knicks going to exceed expectations? We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about how the Knicks roster matches up with some of the other rosters in the Atlantic Division. So let's get to it. I am joined today by Sim. Always a pleasure when Sim decides to come from behind the scenes and join the show. DJ
Appreciate
Shuttle, Stafford Dawn.
Yes, sir.
Let's get to it. How's everybody?
I'm good. I'm feeling good. Feeling good.
Yeah.
Charged up and excited for the season like you and the Pooches.
Yeah.
Pooches is ready. Pooches is hyped for the season. They hyped too. I hear them like woof. Let's go.
Yeah, I was super hyped. I heard some good things, and we'll talk about it more during the show. I heard some good things at Media Day that made me even more excited, especially coming from Randall, making me think his head might be on straight. So yeah, I'm super excited. I mean, let's get into it. RJ Barrett said that the Knicks are going to shock the world. And for that, I took that to mean that the Knicks are going to exceed expectations. So whatever the expectations are of the fans, of the media, other players, whatever, that they're going to be better than that. That's how I understood it. Mm-hmm. How do you guys understand that when he said we're going to shock the world? Sim?
I think I understood it the same way. I don't think he meant championship, right? I think everybody looks at the Knicks as being a team that's on the outside looking in when it comes to that, top 8 team in the Eastern Conference. So I think basically, if you listen to the whole little clip, he talked about guys having something to prove, talking about himself, Randall, Brunson, and it seems like he feels like those three, as well as Mitchell Robinson, Mitchell got Robinson got a contract. You got Obi Toppin trying to prove something. Cam trying to prove that he belongs in the league and he's in the contract year. And, hopefully it means that they understand that if they can come together, right, they can all eat. You know what I mean? If they can come together as a team. And if they can come together as a team, then maybe that means they can sneak up and shock some people, surprise some people. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way I took it from him.
DJ Shuttle?
Yeah, the consensus, around the world is that, the Knicks are on the outside looking in of a play-in spot. At best, maybe a play-in spot. So, yeah, that would be shocking to the world.
If they made the play-in?
If I think making the play-in, if you're not a Knicks fan, if you're the world, yeah, I think the play-in is a shock. Right now, there's a great argument that they're on the outside looking in of even the play-in. Like, if you're being real about it, you could hear the argument that they don't make the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you could make the argument that they could make the play-in. But it's not like it's coming out of space to say that they don't make the play-in, unless you're a Knicks fan.
All right, Stafford, what do you think he meant when he said that?
Man, I was hyped when he even said it. Because I do feel like we gonna shock the world because everybody, is doubting this team. The Julius Randles, him getting a contract. People think he don't deserve it. People thinking Jalen Brunson is a savior when he don't think he's not. He's just a piece trying to get this team elevated. And with even all of them saying that how JB is going to bring a different element, and he's going to help them win. I just think that that's even a bonus for us to even shock in the world, because they, as DJ Shuttle said, what I'm saying, they got us not even making the play-in. Who knows? And I just think that it's the most of the team, they're young, but they've been together for a while, so they know what it takes to win. They've been there in the playoff one time, and they missed it, I think, by one game last year, right? So I know they're gonna gel and they're gonna come together, and I really, really, really feel that we're gonna shock them. We're gonna shock them. We might be in the top 6, but we gonna get one of those top 8. I'm just probably overconfident, but I just feel like that's where we at.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's the. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was just saying, okay, and also that's what media day is supposed to do too. Like every team in the league is feeling like, yo, I think we can get in. Even Orlando Magic.
That's why we hype. That's why we hype. That's why the pooch is hype. Steps hype. Everybody's hype. It's the beginning. And listen, D Rose, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle talking the right type of talk. Leon Rose,
Right.
I spoke to Julius. He sounded like woo woo woo. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm all for it. Listen, I do remember Derrick Rose came here the first trip, and he said we had a big 3, and we saw how that turned out. So,
Oh man, I remember.
I appreciate his optimism. I like to say that I'm not evilly optimistic generally in life. So as far as shocking the world, though, yeah, man. Listen, it's preseason. We ain't even get to it yet, so I'm here for all the shock the world smoke. But my expectations are managed.
I remember when Rose said that. I was like, oh my gosh, what is he? He said they talk about us in Golden State being the top. I was like, oh man, what is he talking about?
Yeah, so he talking big again. You seen him, right? He talking big again.
No, but I feel like he got something to prove too. Because if he's saying Tibbs calling him and he felt offended by him calling in all the time, but he had to realize it was constructive criticism. So he had to take it like how it is and get better. So I feel like, he and all has something to prove. He and all have something to show, and probably even shock the coaches too, because he's 34. People think he's done. So you know what I mean. So he got something to prove. Everybody got something to prove. As Sims was saying earlier, from OB to IQ. I'm saying, trying to be a two-way player, as he said, from OB with his confidence. So everybody got something to prove. As you said, they just got to come together and take it to the Atlantic and to the East, man. And I think we could do something special for real, like JB said.
Well, Debbie Down, or Negative Nancy, as I've been called, I believe that the Knicks will make one of the top 8 spots, right? And even if they finish in one of the play-in spots, if you win the game, you end up the 7th or 8th seed. That's still the playoffs, even if you had to play in to get there, right? So I think the Knicks will do that. Exceeding expectations for me is finishing in the top 6. That's exceeding expectation because I expect them to make the playoffs. This is a talented team. On paper, this is a talented team. Chemistry, has to come together. Those sorts of things. Certain players have to play up to their potential, and if they do, this team can definitely make the playoffs. But to exceed expectations, that's top 6. What are your expectations of the Knicks, and what would exceeding expectations look like? Sam will do the same thing. Come around. We start with you the next time, Steph.
Yeah, my expectations is that even still, or that the Knicks are somewhere, 40, 42, 40, between 42 and 45 wins. Where does that get you in the Eastern Conference? It's hard to say. If it gets you, I think it gets you in the play-in, that number, and then it's going to be up to the Knicks to win a game or two to get into the play-in. If they're in the top 6, then they're going to exceed my expectations. Because I do feel like if they're somewhere around 45 wins, that they could be top 8, right? Again, like I said, that's in the play-in. So if they get into the top 6, though, even at number 6, that's exceeding my expectations. And that doesn't mean that they're a bad team either, in my opinion, because, they could be, the way the East is deep, they could win 42 games and not make the playoffs and still be a good team,
Yeah. DJ Shuttle, what's your expectations of the Knicks, and what would exceeding expectations look like? What would shock the world look like to you?
Well, when we say the world, we don't mean Knicks fans, right? We mean the real world. By the way, Cowboys 3, Giants 0, top of the second. If you don't got the game on, Steph, I see your Giants shirt on.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah. Giants, they ain't striking distance, though. Giants are striking distance. They're at 30.
So if we're talking about the world, not Knicks fans, because, I understand what it's like to, be by your team, make sure your team is supported, and we ready to go, and we want the team to do what we want. But I think the world's expectation is at best like a 9 or a 10 seed. I think that's the world's expectations. My expectations is 8 to a 10 seed. I don't expect higher than an 8 seed. So if the team landed 7 or higher, that would be exceeding expectations to me. And if we talk about shocking the world would be a 6 seed or higher. If they didn't have to play a play-in game and they got a 6 seed, to me, that absolutely would be shocking the world. Anything beyond that, is like a red moon.
Okay. All right. So far we're on the same page. Stafford, what's your expectations of the Knicks, and what would shocking the world or exceeding expectations be for you?
Well, shocking the world is probably for me hosting another playoff game.
Second round.
That will be getting the number 4 seed, hosting a playoff game. That would shock. That would be my shock the world. Let me see. Exceeding will probably be 6. You're making the 6 seed. And my realistic expectation, I had them at 10 earlier in the season. I think that's before we got Jalen. But now that we got Jalen, I'm going 8. I'm going 8. I think we're gonna finish in that top 8. That's my expectations for them.
Okay. Now since RJ said this, what would RJ and other members of the team have to do for the Knicks to shock the world, exceed expectations, however you want to phrase it. Like, what would need to happen? Because, there's some teams that's kind of already set. Well, I was going to say Boston, but they've had a recent upheaval. But, there's certain teams that's kind of already set where you kind of know what to expect from them. Philadelphia, for example. The Knicks, we got some things that need to kind of break right. RJ said he believes they're going to shock the world. What is it that RJ and some other Knicks have to do, or the Knicks in general, for that to happen? Stafford?
All three of those guys has to be all-stars. From Julius to RJ to Jalen Brunson. And then Mitch being in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. So in order for those...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, finish.
Yeah, so in order for them to be successful, I think all those three guys has to be all-stars. I think Julius and RJ has to be over 20 points. Julius 20, 20, 10, and his regular 6 assists. RJ 20, around the 20s with 7 rebounds, at least 3-4 assists. And JB probably leading the league in assists or something like that. You know what I mean? And he's just making a difference on a team that make him get that spot as an all-star. So I think all three of those have to be all-stars in order for us to shock the world. As I said, Mitch has to be running as Defensive Player of the Year, and the bench just playing lights out. They just coming together. Obi, with his confidence, IQ, 6th man of the year. The whole team just balling. Just balling out.
That sounds like championship.
You know what I'm saying?
Defensive Player of the Year, 6 man.
That because you said shocking the world is 1 through 4, so all of that would have to happen for them to finish 1 through 4.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah. So a lot would need to happen for them to finish.
Yeah.
And
they just doing their thing. That's what I'm saying. Shock the world. So that was a question, right? So, those will be the things for me for them to really shock the world for me. That's my little take.
Okay. DJ Shuttle, what would RJ, since this is what he brought up, or any of the Knicks in general, would have to do for the Knicks to exceed, let's just say, your expectations?
Okay. RJ's definitely going to need to improve his field goal percentage, especially from inside the paint. I mean, his 3-point percentage, it would be nice if that went up a little bit, but his 3-point field goal percentage, I'm not sure if I said that, but his efficiency at the hoop, since he gets to the hoop so much, and his foul shooting, because he's a strong guy and he gets to the hoop, he drives. If he can get to like close to 80% from the line, and get it into the 45, 46% from the field with increased efficiency at the hoop, that would make a world of a difference. Even if he doesn't score over 20 points a game, just the improved efficiency in these areas would just make it more, more beneficial to the roster. I think I need Julius Randle to get out of this, I'm the number one guy mode, and get into dog mode, make hustle plays, and be more of a visible leader on the court, and not just only quote unquote lead by example. We need to share the ball a lot better than we did this past season. And and we need Hardenstein to come in and make a difference from the center position, to give some to get some baskets from that are more than slam dunk from the center spot. And I do agree though with Steph that for this team to really make a difference, Mitchell Robinson, I'm accepting to your 8 points and 8 rebounds, but let's get them block shots at 2.5 a game. Let's get some superior defense out there. Let's get back to blocking those 3-point shots and yeah, let's at least have you in conversation, for defensive player of the year. Those to me, those are the main things. Obviously, you need the bench players to supplement, the starting lineup. But I think if those things happen, everything else will fall in line.
Okay. All right. Sam,
Yeah.
what do you think would need to happen?
I think chemistry is going to be key.
Yeah.
Right? This isn't a team that's going to be playing with a bunch of superstars on the court. So their chemistry is going to have to be tight. And I think they have the makeup for their chemistry to be tight because, this is the first time in a long time the Knicks have had so many players that have played together without a huge changeover in the roster. You know what I mean?
Or the coaching staff.
Or the coaching staff. Or the front office. You know what I'm saying? So, this is a group that's been together. So I think the potential for them to have chemistry is really there. So I think that's the first thing. They've got to have chemistry. I think that they've got to understand that they've got to do it together, right? Not one person is going to, on any given night, one person might be hot and can win you the game, but it's not going to be that same guy every night. And they can use that to their advantage to keep a defense guessing if they actually buy into that philosophy. I think we're going to need at least one bona fide all-star and then another guy that's playing on an all-star level. For these guys to shock the world, as we say. And for me, that's getting to that 6th seed or something like that, right? So I don't know if that means you got to have an all-NBA guy, but at least one bona fide all-star and a guy that's all-star level out there on the floor. I agree. Mitchell Robinson's going to have to get in there and really protect the rim. Hartenstein as well. You know what I mean? Because there could be the potential to have some breakdowns from the guard position. So we're going to have to be able to protect the rim. We're going to need the defense on a string. Helping one another, playing a good team defensive style of basketball. We need, I think, an offensive style that's predicated on ball movement and man movement. I was talking to some guys I was talking to for the love of our game. I was talking with them a little bit just before I came on, and they were listening to the full Julius Randle interview, and they said that he was talking about slashing to the basket and making the right cuts and the right reads and things like that. If everybody, if he buys into that and everyone else can buy into that, hopefully they can have a more dynamic offense. And I think Tibbs is going to have to be more flexible on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. Like we were saying the other day, making more defensive adjustments when it's necessary and not only sticking to man no matter who you're playing, but being willing to say, we can go zone for a couple of minutes, against the appropriate team, or against the right matchup. And then I think the bench is gonna have to be tough. You know what I mean? When the bench comes in, I think they have the ability to change the pace. But they've got to be able to defend and sustain a lead, take a lead, or at least keep it even. Right. You know what I mean? But, not lose the lead. I mean, there's going to be games when it happens, but not on a regular basis, losing the lead. So there's definitely a lot that has to go right for this team, to shock the world, so to speak.
Can I just also add, too, you mentioned Tibbs. That's an important part, and I want to salute D. Rose. This is where my guy D. Rose is here. We need him here, and we need him in the game. He said it, and he made it clear. Everybody has to be accountable from the first man to the last man on the team. And that's also putting a message out to Tibbs, and Tibbs might be using him to put the message out to the rest of the team. Because he's the only person that has the voice that could say something like that. And the rest of the team got to be like, all right, D Rose, you said that. You know what I mean? And that's something that Tibbs is going to have to do. He's gonna feel it and hear it if he's letting RJ play crazy ball and it's not like, listen, all right, you gotta sit down for me. If he doesn't do that this year, it's going to be a problem. You got better players. The players on the team are more seasoned now. So the excuse that you don't have talented players, et cetera, we're not trying to hear that this year. Like, that was cool the past 2 years, but no more.
Yeah, can I just say one more thing before you continue?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, couple years ago, if I don't remember, because my dreams is not really it could happen because didn't Atlanta send like 4 All-Stars to the game one time? Jeff Teague, Al Horford, you know what I mean? So it's realistic, you know what I mean? So if all 3 of them is All-Stars,
they were a top seed. They were a top seed.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what I said, between 1 and 4. So even if they ain't number 1, they could be at least within the top 4 with 3 All-Stars. You know, so I mean, it's realistic. You know, that's all I want to say.
Steph, you have a call here if you want to.
Oh yeah, let me just say this real quick, and then I'll take the call. To Sim's point, I agree. Chemistry, defense. If you remember 2 seasons ago, that's how we got to that 4th seed.
Last year was 11 seed though. Would that be quality enough defense what we had last year, or we need better than that?
But the thing about it is the defense. No, I think 11th is good. The defense, the chemistry, which I don't think we had last year for various reasons, but our offense has to be better. Our offense have to be better. 2 years ago, we talked about being okay with a dip in our defense as long as our offense got better. I'm okay with that. Like, if you look at, some of these teams that went to the playoffs, a lot of them was just in the top half in offense and the top half in defense. There were some top 5, what have you. So if the Knicks are like 12 in defense and we 14 in offense, I'm good. Like, I would take that, as opposed to us being 4 in defense and having to scratch for every point like we back in the 90s, So the other thing that came up in the press conference with Julius was that they're going to run more this year. And maybe that was why he lost the weight. And maybe that's why Tibbs was emailing D Rose about him being in shape, because they're going to run this year. We shall see.
I've been saying that all off season. Mm-hmm. Got a running gun on this team. Your best defense is a good offense on this team. Like, that's what we need to do. We don't have to be in D'Antoni's 7-second offense, but it has to be about pushing the ball up via the pass as quickly as possible and initiating the break. Mitch has got to learn, get that ball, baseball pass, over the head pass. Like, he's got to, like, those are things he has to improve at to initiate the break.
Yeah. I'm ready for the. Is he on the air?
Yep.
He or she. Caller, you on the air? Where your name and where you're from?
Steph, it's Ron from Baltimore. Thanks for taking the call.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm doing good. You got an all-star panel, Sim, DJ Shuttle, Stafford Don. Always a pleasure. I'm fired up. I can't say the Knicks are going to shock the world, and nothing RJ said was out of arrogance. He's so humble, and I love how he said, I first have to prove things to myself. When I say we got to prove stuff as a team, first it comes internally. I have to prove stuff to myself because I know what I'm capable of. I'm worth the money, but bottom line is I'm motivated. It doesn't change me. So I love that. But I like that he said we're going to shock the world, but I need to see it. Talk is cheap. We've been through a lot of media days, but what I do see here, Steph, that I like is I look at Derrick Rose's body, I look at Julius Randle's body, and I see commitment. And people say, well, these guys make a lot of money. They should be in shape. But it's hard, especially Derrick Rose at his age. The bottom line is I understand he's a professional athlete, but he lost 20 pounds. Let's give the guy credit. I mean, I know you guys are. I'm just talking about the fans. I'm motivated by the fact that they look like they're all in really good shape. That's number one. So I see commitment. I think Mitchell Robinson, I like what he said. He said, look, the Knicks showed me loyalty, so I have to show it back. I have somebody asked, do you have something to prove? He said, absolutely. This is just a baby step. But the Knicks showed me a lot of love. I have to show love back to the Knicks, and I want to be a part of the offense, and I think Jalen can do that for me. And then the last thing I'll say with Jalen, I think Jalen, and this is obviously simple, everybody says he's the missing piece to the puzzle, and because of our point guard issues, and no doubt I believe that too. But to me, Jalen, I liked what Jalen said. Like, people are like, is there pressure on you? No, you guys can look at it that way. I'm a basketball player. I take it day by day. I know how hard this is and what I put into it, but you guys are putting all these labels on me that I'm the same. No, that's not how basketball works. It's a team sport, and I know what I'm a winner, and what I'm gonna put in. I got to figure out how to get to Julius, to get to RJ, what makes them tick. But like, he's laughing at these questions, and I'm like, this is what we need. We need confidence and leadership. I think that's what Jalen. I think Jalen's personality and temperament. Yes, Derek has that, but Derek is older, and like, Derek is not. He's going to be on the second unit. So I think Jalen, to me, is that extra leadership, the young leadership and personality that I'm used to. Like, that can galvanize troops. That's going to galvanize Julius. So I'm fired up by the interviews, but I can't buy in until I see it. But today was a good day.
What's your expectation for the Knicks, and what would shocking the world or exceeding expectation look like to you?
Well, I mean, I think if you listen to most people have the Knicks in the play-in 7 to 10 range. I look, when we were a 4 seed that year, yeah, there were no fans, but like, I think shocking the world, let's get in the top 6. To me, nobody's expecting the Knicks to be a top 6 team. If we could be a 4 to 6 team, a lot of things have to go right. Look, that's why I understand that, like, you're right. It's defense first. We got to get back to being a great defensive team. I think Mitch, healthy, and Mitch can really help us a lot. Brunson's got to have to be really good on D. So shocking the world to me is 4 to 6. Because people have us as a play-in, and they don't believe in us. And then my expectations are we have to be a winning team again. That's a tough question. My expectation, we got to be a really good and feared team. We got to bring it every night. Last year, look, we didn't have the point guard, and a lot of things, unfortunately, with Kemba was the main part. I'm not just blaming him, but like, let's face it. When you don't have that point guard, it can derail a season. They still won some games last year, but I think we have to be feared again every night, and I think Jalen can do it. That's why I think people are not you guys. You guys are savvy, but a lot of people like in NBA land are sleeping on the Jalen Brunson thing, and I'm looking at a guy totally different. I think Jalen Brunson is such an underdog player that can change everything. So I think we can do it. Get to 45, 50 wins. That's to me shocking the world, because nobody believes in us except us 5. We actually believe things have to go right, but every team you can say things have to go right.
What's the expectation, though? You still didn't answer that question. Everything you said, you sounded like the Knicks players on media day.
Okay, I'm going to give you a definitive. My expectation for the New York Knicks is to be a top 5 seed and to win a round in the playoffs. And
that's not your shock.
I don't think you.
Is that your shock the world, or is that your expectation?
That's my expectation. You know why? Because I believe.
Wow, okay.
I believe. Can I say that? Let me just say
Absolutely.
That. You know why? Because I just want to say this. Like, in basketball, yeah, talent takes you far. This team has some talent. There's no doubt there. Are there more talented teams? Sure. But, like, if you put in the work and you believe in the man next to you and you're willing to fight for everything and be accountable and play defense, the fans, we can get them through a lot of situations. But first, I have to see commitment in shape. They have to really gel defensively, and Brunson has to get it to them. So my expectations for this year for the Knicks to be a top 5 seed. 4 would be great because we get home field again, and we got to make noise in the playoffs. We can't just be there. We got to really prove that the New York Knicks are back. And this is big for Tibbs. I'm putting my neck on the line for Tibbs this year, because I'm saying we got to do it this year, guys. There is no forget the future. Yeah, we're developing young players, but I want to win. I got to make a statement this year. So that's my expectation. But you guys have a good one. I got to get back in the gym because Tibbs ain't emailing me.
Sound like he got the chips all in. Sound like he got the chips all in, Steph.
Table. But let me ask you this question before we go on to looking at the Knicks roster and how it compares. Do the Knicks have enough talent on this roster to shock the world or exceed expectations?
Look, I gotta agree with Ron. Once you're committed and you put in that work, I think we could beat any team in this Eastern Conference. I said it last week. People think I was joking. I'm dead serious. The way how we stack up against some of these teams and the talent and some of the positions, I think that we could definitely definitely be a talented team and take us forward, Steph.
But when you say we can beat any team, anybody can beat anybody on any given night.
Facts.
You got to beat enough of them, to finish.
No, well, listen. If because we play some teams 4 times for the year, right? So if we could even go 2-2, or even beat them in the series 3-1 for the season, I'm good with that. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we're gonna win every night, but bring it every night. You know what I'm saying? Be committed, like Ron just said. And we could make those expectations. You know what I mean? We could beat some of these teams. We were very close to beating the Nets last year, but we just broke down defensively. You know what I mean? Some of these teams, honestly, as I said, chemistry, as Sim said earlier, is a big factor. You know what I mean? We get chemistry and we start gelling. I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think the sky's the limit for this team, But look, I may be overhyping it a little bit, but I don't know. I'm just probably too excited for media day. I don't know.
See, my only thing about your question, Steph, is, well, not my only thing, but I feel like the Knicks are gonna have to work so hard in every single game, to win, right, and stay afloat. That I get afraid when they get to the end of the season, maybe they run out of gas a little bit, because they're gonna have to work hard every night. They're gonna have to pay, really be laser focused. The chemistry is gonna have to be high, and that's how they're gonna have to win every night, and that's hard. Your best teams, they might work hard like that and have to grind out wins, but when you get to the end of the season, they have the talent that can take over. So when your body is tired, your mind is tired, and maybe your focus is a little bit off, they have the luxury of, okay, you know what? So a portion of our team might be taking the night off, but KD's going to get it done. You know what I mean? And that's where I think the Knicks have a hard time. Nobody can take a night off on any night. You got to come to battle and scrap and scrape. That's how they're going to win. 2 years ago, that's how they won. I was afraid at the end of the season they were going to lose steam, but they didn't. So,
what I would say, Sim, I agree with you if one or two of these guys don't break out. So if Randall or RJ are all-star level players, maybe it won't be as hard. But if they're not, then yeah, it's going to be a grind every single night with defense and chemistry and closing games. The net differential might be 2. I remember at one time in that season, it was like 0.9. Like the Knicks were like barely, they were winning, but they were barely eking out like they were all tight games basically on average.
Well,
so I agree with you.
I think that's a plus and a minus for me. Like certain teams, certain coaches, like that's just the style. You know what I'm saying? Tibbs, from the Bulls to the Wolves to the Knicks, his style of coaching falls in line with close games. He's not. You're not going to really blow his team out too much, and he's not going to blow you out too much. It's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5-point wins or losses, and they're going to always be able to battle and be in the majority of games. To me, the plus side of that is you get a little bit more battle tested, so that when there are close games, you have more experience with it and you're better prepared to deal with it. And I'm hoping that RJ being seasoned now in his 4th year, Mitch in his 5th year, bringing in a veteran now, a young vet like Brunson to really control point. Rose hopefully healthy coming in. Even the other bench guys, having a couple of years now under their belt, the team will just be better at facing those challenges in the end of games and being able to win them. Because truth be told, I don't really expect there to be any much difference in terms of the slim margin for error. So I'm just like, you know what, we got to excel and we got to win those games.
Yeah, but Shuttle, you said something very important too early in your statement. Tibbs, right? And as deep as this team is, he needs to also put in the right rotations and the right players at the right time to make this thing good. I think we have the most talented team in a long time. Right, at every position. We're deep at every position. So he got to mix the gumbo real good, put enough salt, enough season to get this thing cooking. Because once we get this thing cooking, it's going to taste sweet at the end of at the end of the pot. So he needs to go ahead and make sure he puts in the right ingredients and the right rotation. And I think that's very key going into the season too. Just making the right decisions.
But you got to have players that can play.
Yeah, that's what I was
because if we say that we talented, of course.
But no, that's the question I'm asking you guys. Are the Knicks talented enough to shock the world? So what Sim is saying is maybe, but we don't have like stars or superstars. So basically, it's going to be chemistry and defense and things of that sort. If I
seeing things we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. Tibbs got to also push the right buttons on the right players. Get the best out of them. If you understand what I'm saying. We don't have to be the all-star caliber player, but he pushes the right buttons and get them playing hard and effective. I think, anything is possible.
You're saying two different things. Now, the first time you said, we got to have 3 all-stars. We got to have 6 player of the year.
I did.
But
that was
defensive player of the year. So now we going to shock the world with that. Now you saying we got to tinker with the little bit of ingredients we got in the cabinet and make sure we
but in order to get to that level, it's all on Tibbs also too. We can't just put it on the players. You got to put it on the coach and the coaching staff also too. Those are the ones that's coaching the players. So once they put them in the right position, they gotta, so that's what I'm saying. He gotta push the right buttons for us to be 3 all-stars, defensive player of the year, 6th man of the year, and a dynamic bench mob. You know what I'm saying? I think he is the key also too.
No. I agree. He has a part in it,
right?
And I believe is definitely, his role to make sure that you put them in the best position. But in terms of a coach can't turn you into an all-star performance. Like the players is going to have to do that. You just got to make sure you don't put them in situations where they can't succeed or you making it hard for them to succeed. But what can Tibbs do to turn Mitchell Robinson into the defensive player of the year?
It all starts with discipline too. He and all said it. You got to put your hands up. You can't jump.
You're saying that the coach has to do it. What can the coach do to make RJ get to the All-Star game? Other than making sure, he gets his time, making sure you don't put him in situations where that don't work for him.
You got to execute. And that's all it comes down to.
But to answer that question, I think that you're asking though is what can Tibbs do? I think if Tibbs see Jalen, even though he is a good point guard, he's not the Chris Paul type point guard. So you can still actually run the offense through RJ, and he's actually pretty good at driving and finding an open guy. He's not like the best ball handle. He's not the best assist person, but still he is good with the ball. He's good getting to the hoop, getting his shots. And I mean, if he starts like shooting more efficient when he gets to the hoop and starts knocking down those free throws, I mean, to me, his 20 could turn to 25 or 26 by just making, 2 more shots and a couple more free throws per game.
Good execution, yeah. I agree.
So running the offense through RJ can lead to RJ going to an all-star level.
Right. So I agree with that in the sense of the coach. You don't take a guy who's elite in the pick and roll and not run any pick and rolls, right? Like you setting that you're not putting them in the best position. You don't take a guy who's very good in the post and he doesn't see any possessions in the post. Like that part I get, where a coach can really put a player in a bad situation or not put them in the best situation to succeed. Barring that, though, what kind of magic does Tibb have to make RJ and Randall and those guys an all-star, other than making sure he puts them in the right position? But it's going to be on them.
I mean, I know we're talking about the Knicks, but I got to go back to Atlanta and Budenholzer, right? And some of those guys wasn't even all-star caliber players, like Jeff Teague. You know what I mean? Al Horford. Who else was on that team? Probably Kyle Korver. You know what I mean? These are normal players. And Budenholzer pushed the right buttons for them to win 65 games and was on top of that seed. So, I mean, why can't, Tibbs do the same thing? Push the right buttons, get these guys playing at an all-star level, where all three of them make the all-star, as I said before. Mitchell Robinson playing defensive player of the year, lights out. So, I mean, it's possible. But Tibbs, as I said before, Tibbs has to push the right keys and the right buttons for these guys, and right motivation. You understand what I'm saying? To get these guys to that level.
Okay. I think it's gonna be super, super tough. I think back then, I don't think the East, if you go look at the East back then, you may have had somebody below 500 make the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
So the East is a lot different than it was back then. But, I'm not saying it's not possible. I just think it's gonna be hard. You need everything to bounce right, I think.
Yeah. I mean, because it took 43 and 39 for the 10th seed last year. So, a little bit has changed, but between those top 10 teams, like Charlotte is really the only team that you can look at and say, they probably won't be in that top 10. Which means, if you got every other team playing close to somewhat similar to whatever they did last year in that top 9, otherwise, you're talking about 42 wins or more to be at the 10th seed, and 40 wins maybe not even being enough.
Yeah. The 8th seed was how many wins last season?
The 8th seed was the Atlanta Hawks, also at 43 and 39, excuse me.
43. And that was last year. It doesn't mean it's going to be the same thing this year, but 43 got you. So 45, if all things stay relatively the same, may get them the 7th, the 8th, may get them into the playoff. All right, let's pull up the rosters of the other teams and let's talk about just in a season series what we think would happen. So I have it based on, in parentheses, where they finished in the Atlantic Division. So Boston finished first, Philly finished second, and I got the Knicks in the middle so we can kind of see by position how the Knicks match up. Let's start with Boston. Now, Boston, prior to, if this was a month ago, I think it would be a little different. But right now, their center is injured, right? Their backup, Robert Williams, is injured. I think he's going to be out. What did they say? 4 to 6 weeks or something like that.
Yep.
Gallinari, their backup power forward, is out for the season. And I put that in there just so we could see that they're having some depth issues.
I'm sorry. Williams out 8 to 12 weeks.
8 to 12 weeks. Okay. Gallinari out for the season. And their coach out for the season.
He ain't ever coming back.
Okay. All right.
Shout to Boston. Much salute to you, Boston.
Right.
And
Boston,
Danny Ainge.
And Boston went to, they went to the finals last season, right? So
Good luck.
And so looking at our roster in the middle, looking at Boston, how do you feel about this season series? I don't know if we play them 4 or 5 games this season, but how do you think, looking at the roster, what will the season series look like? Or how do you think we compare to Boston, given their injuries and what's going on over there?
Oh man, listen. Right now, it's tough because even without the head coach who's only there for one season, you got battle-tested, playoff-tested guys. Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford. Like, those are all guys you want to go to war with, especially Smart and Horford. Like, these are all guys you want to go to war with. All guys, when you get down in the game, they're gonna keep their cool. They're not gonna get crazy. Brogdon is also, a pretty reliable guy when he's not hurt. They get Williams back. They still got the other Williams who's pretty thorough, and White's not bad either. So, I mean, Boston, even without the coach, is still going to be extremely tough to beat because they've got mentally strong, battle-tested players. And this team here in the middle that we love, blue and orange, don't really have any battle-tested players that have been there and done it. Brunson has a little bit of cachet, and and D Rose, who is bench or situational. So, I mean, just not enough experience for me to feel strong about the matchup against Boston.
But let me ask you a question. Do you see any upside? Do you see anybody on the Knicks breaking out and possibly raising the Knicks ceiling? Because I do. Like, I feel like the Knicks, they may not be top heavy in terms of stars and superstars, but looking at their starters is solid. Looking at their bench, they probably have one of the best benches in the league. It remains to be seen because we got Hartenstein, and I'm not sure if we're going to go with a 3-guard rotation in the second unit. But I think it's a pretty good team. They may not be top heavy.
No, but solid 1 to 10 for sure.
Solid 1 to 10, and Boston isn't.
No, they got Cornette's not he's not a top tier backup center. And power forward right now is questionable on their bench. So yeah, I mean, you get them into the bench, and you got a chance to make a difference there with the second unit, and you have to have their starters playing more minutes. A team like the Knicks, their starters probably have to play more minutes than they might normally play.
Right. So let's keep it simple. I'll ask each of you: do the Knicks win the season series against Boston?
Mm-hmm. See, I think the Knicks match up. This particular team, I always felt like the Knicks matched up well with Boston. Right? I don't know what the season series was last year. I don't remember. The year before that, I think it was either 2-2 or the Knicks won it 3-1. I don't remember exactly what it was, but that year, Boston wasn't that good that year. right? They struggled a little bit, but I feel like the Knicks match up well with this team, and I think Brunson just adds to the matchup. The matchup, right? I think he matches up well with Smart. Evan Fournier, we know he always last year, he was killing Boston last year, right? I think RJ Barrett takes it personal against Jason Tatum, right? To prove that he's on that level. Julius Randle, I think, will outplay Al Horford. And then you got Williams and Robinson, who would normally kind of play to a duel. Maybe Robinson's a little bit tougher, but Williams not going to be there. You know what I mean? Now, Malcolm Brogdon definitely adds something off the bench, but you got D Rose, who you can say adds the same thing that Malcolm Brogdon adds off the bench, right? And then when you look at the rest of the bench for Boston, I'm not that impressed. It's a little bit weak, right? I'm not that impressed. Where the Knicks got guys like Grimes and Reddish and Obi, Hartenstein. I think the Knicks bench is better than Boston's. Boston's first five is better than the Knicks. I would say it would either be 2-2 or Boston 3-1. And they'd be close. There was 2-2 last year, and they'd be close games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I gotta go with 2-2 also too. And we have seen these guys before, DJ Shuttle. I don't know what you seeing, bro. We have played these guys so many times. So many times. So I gotta agree with Sim. We match up good. I think all of them is gonna take it personal. The Jalen Brunson Smart matchup, that's gonna be something to see. I still probably think Grimes gonna take Fournier's spot, and RJ Barrett, as you say, he's always gonna have something to prove to Tatum. Julius Randle gonna be Julius Randle, and I think Mitch gonna show out because Williams is not there. And as far as the bench, come on, man, we're gonna be running and gunning on them. They don't have nobody. Who was Pritchard? Noah Vonleh?
Well,
Like, I mean, come on, our bench is just clearly better than them. But I got one thing I'm gonna agree with you though. They are battle tested and they're gonna fight. That starting five is gonna fight till the end. So I'm gonna still go. Yeah, the series 2-2 tied up.
Yeah.
Before I answer the serious stuff, I just want to just use a baseball analogy because I grew up as a baseball player, as well as a basketball player. And don't get me wrong, it's good for my baseball Yankee fans out there. It's great to have Mariano at the end of the game, but if you don't got Andy Pettitte or somebody in there that could get you 7 or 8 strong innings, it don't matter if you got Mariano. You know what I'm saying? So, we wouldn't be talking about how great the bench is if the starters were great. It's very rare that you talk about a bench being so great on a team with a great starting lineup. We're glorifying the bench because the starting lineup is not really super strong when you compare it to most starting lineups in the league. So, so the hope is when the bench comes in, they could make up for it, hold the lead if we happen to have one, or maybe do something to help us get a lead and make a difference. But let's be clear. You could either have a strong bench or you could have a defensive player of the year and 2 all-stars on your team in your starting lineup. And me, I'm going to go with a defensive player of the year and 2 all-stars on my lineup if I'm picking versus having a great bench. So with that being said, I think the team would be lucky to have a split. And to Stafford's point, there is some familiarity. So I think that does bode to the team's advantage. To Sim's point, you got a guy like RJ, who I think could be the breakout candidate and jump to 24, 25 points a game and be on the verge of possibly being an all-star. Yeah, I think he is going to take it personal against Boston more than even most teams. So, 2-2.
Yeah, I agree. but it's going to be interesting to see. They got a new head coach, so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays itself out. But I think Randall's going to have a really good season. I think RJ Barrett is going to continue to improve. I don't think RJ has to take a super leap. I just think he has to continue doing what he's doing and get better finishing at the rim, finish his free throws, and what have you. Yeah, I think the Knicks 2-2. I wouldn't even be surprised. I might be a little surprised 3-1. I ain't gonna push it. 2-2, because at the end of the day, they have two players that are better than anybody on the Knicks, and Brown and Tatum, and some might even argue Smart. I wouldn't, but
would you rather have Smart or Brunson as your starting point guard?
Ooh.
I mean, when you put it that way, it's a different. It's a. You look at it a little differently.
But this
not being a homer, but I'm taking Bronson.
But this particular team, I think we need Brunson. But Marcus Smart at that point of attack with his size and his defense, and he can hit the three as well. He's just not a distributor type point guards per se. But when you have Brown and Tatum, you don't really need that.
And when you have a guy like RJ that can initiate offense, it's not going to be much different than Brunson. Brunson's going to be handing the ball off equally as much as Smart would if he was a point guard here. But let's not digress.
But I think Brunson can get in the paint way better than Smart.
Yeah.
And I think he's more crafty when he gets in there to be able to score the ball.
Right.
True.
And I think that's something that this team, because you don't have a Brown or a Tatum, I think this team really needs that.
Right. All right, let's move to the Philadelphia 76ers, who finished in second place. They started Maxey. From what I hear, a motivated Harden. Harris has moved to the 3 to make room for PJ Tucker at the 4. And then the big fella, Joel Embiid, they picked up, is that Montrezl Harrell? Oh, yeah, Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah.
Melton, Okmar, Steibel, who's a defensive demon. I don't think the Knicks win this season series at all. I mean, the Philadelphia 76ers are bona fide, but I'm interested to hear what you guys think.
Agreed.
I agree 100%. I don't like the matchup at all.
1-3.
Yeah, I don't like the matchup at all against
too much speed and too much domination at center.
Yeah, I just feel like they just got too much firepower, in my opinion. I mean, from Embiid, Harris, and Harden alone, you got a lot of firepower. Then you got Tyrese Maxey too.
Right.
Who can get off.
On PJ Tucker either.
PJ Tucker can knock down threes in the corner, plays that tough, a small power forward plus he plays a small power forward, but he's tough. You know what I mean?
PJ Tucker got that double dribble corner 3.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there
double dribble?
Stafford, you know about the double dribble corner 3?
Dribble.
You know about that corner 3 too?
I know all about it. I know all about it. Trust me, I know all about it.
Exactly.
Right. Any matchup in that starting lineup or even on the bench that you think the Knicks have an advantage at?
Maybe Randall and PJ Tucker.
Yeah,
I'm not sure about Brunson and Maxey either.
You got that one right, Sam. Let me rephrase that. I agree exactly. That's the one advantage. Everything else is, I mean, Embiid is like over Robinson. That's like a knockout round. That's like a 10-8 round. Harden is over Fournier. That's like a 10-8 round. Harris and Barrett, like that might be a draw.
Could be.
And Maxey and Brunson maybe a draw too. But
why? Like when I see Maxey, he plays off of those guys
right
very well. a lot of times Harden is handling the ball and he's just in the corner waiting for the kick out because Harden and Embiid draws so much attention. You see him like locking down Brunson, defensively. Like, I don't think he's hard to guard because of what he does. You understand? Like, he's in the corner waiting, for the defense to collapse so that he can, get an open shot. I don't think he's hard to guard. And I'm not sure if he's going to be able. He's a good defender. Don't get me wrong. To me, I give Brunson the edge over Maxey. I do see Barrett being possibly a draw. Randall, I see over PJ Tucker. I think our bench is better, but at the end of the day, we don't have an Embiid.
Yeah.
And to me, that's all the difference.
Right.
That's a monster.
And Embiid and Harden are so much more better than Robinson and Fournier, even though it would probably be Barrett guarding Harden.
Right. I agree.
Right.
Yeah.
And maybe it may actually be it may actually be Fournier on Tucker, right? Because Tucker's not going to go off the dribble and do that kind of stuff. He's going to hang in the corner, and you can put Randall.
That's coaching, Sam.
Yeah, Randall on
I like
Harris and RJ on Harden. Make the matchups a little bit better at least.
I like that, coach. I like that, coach.
Yeah, I agree with you because Randall and Harris have matched up before. Because Harris has played the 4 before, and yeah. But I think we all agree that that's not a season series that the Knicks win. All right, let's move on to the Raptors, who finished third. Van Vliet, Gary Trent Jr., OG Anunoby, Barnes, and Siakam as projected starters. Now, as far as the bench, I know Flynn. I don't know Banton. I'm not familiar with him, but they signed Otto Porter. I think he played in Golden State last season. Chris Achiuwa. I don't know if I said that right. And
Precious.
And they got Birch and Thaddeus Young, who I like him. Thaddeus Young reminds me a little bit of Taj Gibson, but he does a bit more in terms of playmaking and things of that. So Toronto finished third in the Atlantic Division. Do the Knicks win this season series? Any matchups where you see the Knicks have the advantage? How do you think the season series goes with Toronto?
I see lunch meat. I think we could beat them.
Wow.
I think we go. Yeah, I think we go up there. We take one and we win 2 of them at the Garden. I think Julius is going to dominate Barnes, and I definitely think Brunson and Mitchell Robinson, if they could hook up in a connection, I think he could more than dominate Siakam on the boards. So I definitely see that matchup right there, the Siakam Mitchell Robinson, and then Brunson and Van Fleet, they even out. Gary Trent Jr. I still think we're gonna start Grimes for the defense, so I think that's gonna even out right there too. And let me see, OG and RJ. OG's more of a defensive guy. I don't think he's not like an offensive player like that.
No, he is.
But
He averaged like 17. He averaged like 17. Well, he's a two-way player.
Two-way.
That's matchup actually.
I think that might be even out too. But I do think our bench is just better than their bench. So I think we win 3-1.
I think this is an even matchup. On paper, I think it's even. When they get out there on the floor, I think it's going to be even. You know what I mean? I look at guys that match up in this, when I look at the starting lineup, I'm almost seeing even across the board. except for maybe Robinson and Julius Randle probably over Barnes, and then Siakam maybe over Robinson. You know what I mean? Because of his ability to score the ball, and Robinson isn't a scorer.
And probably won't be able to. They're going to play him away from the rim, so Robinson is going to have to be able to move his feet, because Siakam, even if he starts outside, can put the ball on the floor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, this is a great team to go small against.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that you necessarily start Randall at the center spot, because for whatever strange, odd reason, you can do that in college, in high school, but you can't do that in the NBA. But yeah, I mean, starting Siakam at center is definitely, for me, I feel like a huge advantage to the Raptors, because of Siakam's ability to, initiate the break, go coast to coast, post up, hit it from three, drive to the hoop. Like, to me, that's a matchup nightmare for Mitchell Robinson. Unless he really elevates his defensive footwork and ability to stay on the ground and not go for the pump fakes. Yeah, this is the team, though, that I think that could sweep the Knicks, or the Knicks could win 3-1. To me, this is a very unpredictable thing. And the difference maker is the coaching. To me, how you coach against this team would absolutely be a differentiator in winning the games here, because, like Sim said, there's a lot of, check on both sides of the rosters. So, yeah, I think here's where the coaching is going to make a huge difference. Putting the right players in the right matchups is going to be, you got to do something out the box. Like I said, like putting Randall with a lot of minutes at center, and maybe putting Reddish in, or putting Toppin in, Grimes in. Who knows? With the starting lineup to get a lot of minutes together.
But a possible sweep, though, Shuttle, though? We're not winning one?
What I'm saying is that this is one that's very hard to call. That, to me, if Toronto swept it, I wouldn't be totally shocked. And if the Knicks won 3 out of 4, I wouldn't be shocked.
At least give us one.
The only thing I'll say about
come on, bro.
What I was saying about the Raptors, and which I hope Sim alluded to this earlier, was the chemistry. Like, you could look at their roster. I don't see any like all-stars. I mean, Siakam was an all-star. Van Vliet was an all-star at one point. But I don't see any like superstars on their roster. But their defense and their chemistry is what made them a strong team. And I think that can bode well for the Knicks as well. We play really good defense. Our chemistry is good. We can be who Toronto was last season, because I don't think anybody expected them to finish, where they did. But I just think they're a little ahead of us in terms of the chemistry, because they pretty much bringing back the same team. Though I think OJ Anunoby was hurt, and Anunoby was hurt, and so I don't know who played 3 for them. And Barnes, I believe, no, he did start. So yeah, I think this is actually close as well. I could see a split. I could see a split. I mean, one thing that's becoming clear is that this is, like you said, this is going to be a dog fight. This is going to be a dog fight. I think Brunson and Van Vliet, I think they're going to both give each other hell.
Yeah.
basically, in terms of trying to guard each other. Gary Trent Jr., I think people are sleeping on him.
I didn't sleep on the kid. That boy nice.
Yeah. If Grimes start, he might be able to guard him a little better than Fournier. But I think Fournier can score in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, like Grimes is going to have to get his off of somebody else. I think Fournier
can create, though we haven't real that hasn't been his role with the Knicks, but he can put it on the floor. OG Anunoby, and Barrett, I would love to see that matchup. And somebody said in the chat that Barnes 6'7" with a 7'2" wingspan is going to give Randall hell. Maybe,
I mean, he might.
you know,
I mean, Randall should give it back to him. He should be able to
Right.
body him up, you know,
right?
and score under the basket. Yeah, I mean, I see this being a low-scoring battle just about every game. Maybe there's one game where there's a lot of scoring, but for the most part, I think it's going to be a low-scoring battle. You know, I'm going 2-2 with this matchup.
Yeah, yeah. Stafford, did you comment already?
Yeah, 3-1.
3-1 Knicks.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna take one in Canada.
Okay, all right. And let's move over to Brooklyn, who I thought we played well last season, but we just didn't. There was a few games we just didn't close. So we got Kyrie Irving. We don't have to worry about the vaccination protocol, so he'll be there for every single game. Joe Harris, Durant, Ben Simmons apparently will be playing this season. He's ready to go. Nick Claxton and the starters. I love their bench. Patty Mills, Curry. I love Curry. I just love Curry. Royce O'Neal, who they picked up from Minnesota, was it? No, Utah.
Yeah.
TJ Warren, who was injured, but prior to the injury is a two-way player. So let's see how he rebounds. Daron Sharp, who was a rookie last season. And I'm not even sure how this is going to play out with Cam Thomas, a situational. He might be in the rotation. And then Markieff Morris is also on the roster. So that's a pretty strong roster. What's your thoughts on how the Knicks match up with Brooklyn on paper and the season series?
I mean, on paper, it's a tough matchup, in my opinion. It is a tough matchup. I mean, you know, the Brunson and Kyrie, you already know what Kyrie can do. Right now, Brunson may be able to score, though, because Kyrie's not a great defender. So Brunson may be able to score. Fournier and Harris, you know, maybe it's a duel, you know, maybe it's even. You know, KD's going to do what he does over RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Ben Simmons. I don't know what to expect from Ben Simmons with this lineup, to be honest with you. Right? Because he's not a shooter. So he's not going to stand in the corner while Kyrie and KD got the ball. So I'm interested to see how they use him with this lineup. Mitchell Robinson and Nick Claxton, you know, maybe that's an even matchup. The bench, I mean, they got shooters on the bench. They got some experience on the bench. I think this is a tough matchup for the Knicks. I'm going to go 3-1 Brooklyn. I think the Knicks will get one.
Yeah. I would agree with you. I would agree with you as well. Kyrie Irving, Durant, you're right, Sam. I don't know which Ben Simmons we're going to get. I don't know how they're going to use him. He might be that point forward with Kyrie and Durant playing off the ball.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
Because didn't they do that with Harden? Right? They let Harden play some point guard while Kyrie, you know, played off the ball. They might, they could do that. Right?
Right. Yeah. I think Brooklyn wins this season. And I know last season we played them well. So I know the effort is going to be there, the battle of the borough and what have you. The Knicks won't be sleeping during this game. But I just think the talent is going to win out. And they have a strong bench as well.
Yeah.
They have a I mean, it's just too much.
I see us winning one game too.
Yeah. So do you think the Knicks finished 5? That's what I have in parentheses. That's where they finished in the Atlantic Division. Do you think they finish higher this season? So it was last season, it was Boston finished first, Philly finished second, Toronto finished third, Brooklyn finished 4th in the division. and the Knicks.
Ooh.
This is a tough division that the
Nah, this is
Knicks are in.
this is not your daddy's Atlantic Division.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is the new and improved Atlantic Division where all teams could be 500 or better, and somebody doesn't make the playoffs. I think the Knicks are fighting with Toronto for the fourth spot.
Yeah.
That's what
I agree.
That's where I think it's at.
Yeah, that's where I think it is too. I can't see them topping breaking the top three.
Okay.
Unless one of those teams just collapse.
Right, but that was my next question. Do you see Boston falling out of the top three given the injuries, the coaching? I mean, I'm pretty sure they're going to make some adjustments to their roster ahead of training camp, right? Given the injuries. But do you see them with all the turmoil going on around the team as well? Do you see them falling out the top three or not really?
You know, it's hard to say.
It's
I don't
possible.
know.
It's possible.
I think it could be possible, right? Because I mean, when you look at them, the East is so unpredictable. You look at the Atlanta Hawks, you know, the year the Knicks made the playoffs, they went to the Eastern Conference Finals, right? And then they were eliminated, first round last year. You know what I'm saying? And the Celtics that same year, because of injuries and they could never find the chemistry and all of that, did they make the playoffs?
Who was this?
The Celtics, when the Knicks made the playoffs.
I don't think they made the playoffs.
Right. And then they go to the NBA Finals last year. You know what I mean? So it's unpredictable. It's hard to say. You know what I mean? Is the team, are the Celtics mentally tough enough and strong enough? You know, because over the last 4-5 years, they've dealt with a lot of changes. Kyrie Irving and then Kemba Walker, right? I mean, you can go back even before then, Terry Rozier and then Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker on the team. Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier on the team. You know, I mean, their core guys have been there. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. You know, they've had 2 coaching changes now over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Now, Sim, I gotta I gotta keep you honest here, Sim. 20 in that season when the Knicks made it to the playoffs, the Celtics actually were 36-36, and they were 6th in the conference.
Oh, they were 6th. Okay.
Oh, they made the playoffs at 6. Okay.
Were we all in there together?
I'm sorry.
I know, 4, 5, and 6.
They were 7th in the conference. That was the Raptors down season and the year that they didn't make the playoffs.
Okay.
The Raptors didn't make the playoffs, but the Celtics made it. They were 7 seed.
Yeah, that's the Raptors championship hangover season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, losing Kawhi will do that to you.
Right. But they've been so, this is definitely going to test their resolve, and maybe everything they've been through over the last 4 or 5 years helps them to handle this even better, right? Because they've been through a lot and went to the NBA Finals last year. So,
that's what I was saying earlier, Sim. They got the resolve, like they've been there and they've done it with the core of Smart, Tatum, Horford, and Brown. Even though Horford left for a little bit, he came back. So those 4 players, like they've done it, and they've done it more than once in terms of just playoffs, wins, things like that. So, this coach thing, the coach was a slime ball. I mean, we don't want to talk about that. I mean, he did what he did.
But shut up, they can't play 48 minutes though. They can't play 48 minutes.
Hopefully, it takes the team down a notch, and that's a win or 2 for the Knicks.
Yeah, let's hope. Let's hope that it does. You know what I mean? But it's hard. It's just hard to say. If they're gonna have the resolve to make it through, and fight through it, or if it starts to splinter the team and because so much is going on over the last 5 years. Some of the guys like, man, I'm tired of things keep happening with this team. So, we'll see, but they have the resolve from past experience to make it through, I think. where they can keep their spot.
Yeah, but I don't think all of them could play 48 minutes though. You know what I mean? They're gonna have to come out and rest at some time, and I think we could beat them down because they benching that strong. You know what I mean? So
Right
I mean,
now.
I still think we still got an advantage. You know?
The bench is not that strong right now, but I was hearing something on NBA radio about them maybe being in the Jay Crowder sweepstakes.
Could be.
But you would think they're going to try to shore up that position. I don't
right.
think this is going to be their roster going into the season, right?
Right.
Those two injuries, I think they're going to try to do something.
Yeah, because that Gallinari hurts them. Gallo not being there hurts what they were trying to do.
Correct. And Horford, how many minutes do you want him playing at? What, 34 years old?
Right.
That's what I'm saying. You can sneak the boss into the world right there.
I see a way where the Knicks can finish 3rd and Boston 4 and Toronto 5. I can see a world where that happened, but a lot would have to break, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about somebody having an all-star season and somebody else playing at an all-star level, whether they make it or not.
And I think the Celtics, I could see where in the beginning of the season, maybe they falter a little bit because they got a new coach. While they may fall back on the same things they did last year, he's going to have some tweaks in there. You know what I mean? And, he might, it might take some time for them to get used to some of those little tweaks or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I think I agree with you guys. I think the Knicks will finish 4th or 5th. 4th or 5th. In the division.
Yeah.
Before we get to last words, next week we will be doing the Southeast Division. So basically, where the Knicks match up, who will win the season series. And the Southeast Division is Miami Heat, Atlanta Hawks, Charlotte Hornets, Washington Wizards, and the Orlando Magic. So we'll be talking about them next week. And then lastly, we'll get to the Central. Yeah. The Central Division. Any last words? Anything you wanted to say during the show that you didn't get an opportunity to, that you want to close out with?
No, I think when I was talking to For the Love of Our Game, they asked, they did, the Monica McNutt thing and asked, 2 words to describe the team. And, I was with chemistry and accountability. Yeah. I think those are going to be 2 very important things the Knicks need this year. Chemistry and accountability, holding each other accountable. Tibbs and the coaching staff holding all the players accountable. Because I think that's the way that the Knicks went to the 4th seed. The chemistry and accountability. Chemistry, accountability, and defense. Right? I think that's how they went to the 4th seed. Because before Tibbs, nobody had any accountability or structure or anything. And he came in and provided that accountability, and they swung way this way. And then, maybe they came, then they kind of swung the other way. But now, I guess hopefully we see where they really are. But they're going to need chemistry and accountability, I think, if they want to be successful this year. Chemistry, accountability, and defense.
That's actually a good way to close out. Your 2 words to sum up this group, together with your last words.
Well, 2 words for the team to shock the world and over exceed expectations. I guess along the lines of chemistry, it's going to need to be unity and hard working. That's what we need. If you have togetherness and you can outwork these other teams, you can make up some of what you are maybe not matching up equally or have a notch up in terms of talent versus other NBA squads. As far as last words, you know, I know this is the Knicks show. I just got to just say, I'm just so sorry that Miss Nia Long is being dragged in the mud through this thing with the coach. She doesn't deserve this. And I'm so sorry that this queen that got caught up in the madness with the coach is the only woman being dragged through it and not the wife of the vice president. If only they drag her through the mud the same way.
Oh boy, 2 words. I have to definitely go with chemistry, and I think you took my other word, Shuttle, which was togetherness. And once you go through adversity, you gotta stick together. So I think once those two things come to pass, I think we should be good. And my last words is, yo, stop being a negative Nancy and just stick behind the team, man. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. You know what I mean? At least have some optimism. Something. You know what I mean? We got to win sometime. So, let's go, man.
Yeah, I mean, the two words that I would use would be chemistry and ball movement. Because I think the defense is going to be there. You know, if the Knicks have good chemistry and they moving the ball, I think we're going to be I think we're going to be fine. Sam, DJ Shuttle, Staffer, I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Hopefully you guys can come back next week. I just want to invite those who enjoyed the show, invite you to watch me over on Dope Soul Sports Talk as well. Tuesday nights at 9:00. I do a show called Just Nicking It. And then during the season, I'll be doing a morning show, 45 minutes or so, a post-game show after the Knicks play. So the next morning I'll be doing a show. I'll drop the link for those who don't know, but subscribe to the channel. Meet me over there. And with that, we out.
Peace.